Hey guys, this is a video on a 206 Crown Majesta valley plate reseal. This video is pretty much a documentation of my own experience, and the methods used are what worked for me. I accept no responsibility if you try these things and they don't work for you. I usually do videos just as a cookie trail, so at least I've got something to go back on if anything goes wrong or if I forget how to do something. Overall, I hope this video does provide some sort of insight for anyone willing to do it themselves. So yeah, let's just get into it. Okay, starting off with removing the airbox. There's a few 10mm bolts. Gently remove the air sensor plug and all associated breather hoses. Yeah. Yeah, beauty. So I just marked it where it used to be. The direct injection controllers, there's 4 10mm bolts on each one. The plugs come out by lifting the locks all the way back till it clicks, and then it pushes it out. So here I'm just trying to release the harness, just following it along on the right hand side. It's just basically freeing up the harness from the head and the intake manifold. And careful with this breather because the barb is only plastic. So that one goes on there. Just taking care with the coil pack plugs. Yeah, good. And solenoids. Just taking my time with it because everything is quite brittle. Just removing the bracket for the direct injection controllers. There's 2 10mm bolts and 2 10mm nuts. There's a little bolt there, 10mm, don't know if you can see it. So all the plastic protector cover thing for the harness here, I've just broken it. It just crumbles away like a cookie, so I've just broken it to bits. Hopefully it gives me more maneuverability of the harness to get it out of the way. And I'll look at trying to get a replacement, or maybe looking at some kind of sheathing or something to protect the harness a bit more. So yeah, spewing that I couldn't get the alternator. That would have helped if I undid the alternator line, because then that would mean I could lift this whole thing up and just, you know, put it over that way. But there's one line that goes deep in there, and I'm just like, nah, too much work to get to. So yeah. Now just remove this. Another connector broken. Here I'm removing the intake manifold. I only just realised there's 2 hoses to remove underneath the throttle body. So this is the dreadful sight I was welcomed with. Mine looked pretty bad. I was topping up coolant pretty much nearly every 3 weeks, so yeah, it was pretty far gone. Just making some reference marks here so I know roughly how tight to make it when I put it back on.
Just lifted this deadening up out of the way, and hopefully I can get a little socket in there and go in there from the back.
There's a 10mm bolt here in this really awkward spot holding down the black plastic PCV manifold thing. I didn't want to have to move heaps of things just to get to it, so I just persevered.
Ah, you bastard.
Just lift this up and pull towards yourself.
Yeah, finally.
Next time, when I put this back in, I'm going to make the bolt go in that way. It's so much easier to access.
Just having a look at this, removing the 10mm bolt that went in there. There's another bolt here, I don't know if you can see that, which I probably could have loosened first, and then that may have allowed this to kind of lift up a little bit to get some more access in there. I'm not sure. And I know I could have removed this, but I was just a bit wary because I've never done this before. Having a look at the diagrams of this, there's some O-rings in there, so I'm assuming that it's holding some fuel down. So that's why I was reluctant in removing that altogether. I just want to keep it where it is.
So here I'm just loosening the harness to make space to be able to remove the valley plate. Be gentle with all the connectors here. I pulled too hard on one of the knock sensors and pulled the wires out of the plug. If you're interested, check out one of the videos on my channel where I'm replacing these plugs and connectors. Apparently you need to be really careful with the knock sensors. If you drop one, you pretty much have to throw it away. When undoing the bolts and lifting up the valley plate, expect a lot of coolant to run out the back of the engine down near the bell housing. Probably a good idea to drain the coolant beforehand.
Just used a 6mm socket for that one and this one.
Removing this bracket and the plug helps with freeing up some space. I zip tied the harness to the sides on the fuel rails to make clear space in the center to remove the valley plate. I intentionally didn't want to disconnect the direct injectors because I had been warned that they tend to break really easy, and the downside is to replace them, they're extremely expensive, so that was something I really wanted to avoid.
Just got one of these transfer pumps off eBay. They're pretty cheap, not too bad. Connects to the battery, and then this hose will be drawing up all the coolant and exits out in through to there. There is, I've just undone that fuel hose at the back. You can see the bottom of the lid just dropping into the lid. I just bent the tabs back, just gives me more space to maneuver the valley plate when I put it back in. I've kept the tab untouched on the right because that's what I think it's a PCV bolts into. Yeah, the others are just for hoses, so yeah, not too worried about them. And just yeah, drying out the holes. Then I'll get another wipe down and just clean it with some wax and grease remover, and hopefully we can get the valley plate back on. Okay, just doing some test runs of the installation of the valley plate. Just seeing how it can be done whilst the harness is just there in place and whilst the sealant is on the valley plate itself. I'm thinking to go in, just guide it in like that, making sure that none of the under the lip touches anything, because that's where the sealant will be. And then just that little bracket there for the PCV inlet, I'll just kind of rest it there Then I can kind of put this hose in there and then lift it up a little bit and then give some clear space down here, enough to guide it in. I'll just push it in like this way towards myself, and then that just allows me to lower the valley plate into position like that. I'm thinking that's the way I'm going to do it, and I've done it about almost 8 times just to be sure it can be done. And I've felt underneath the lip just to make sure there's no points of contact of the sealant, and it seems like it can be done, so I'm going to give that a go. Just from what I've read and seen online, you've got to be really careful with this, not to put too much pressure on this, because it's the O-rings, just when I was testing as well, the O-rings can easily kind of come off and kind of twist. So I'm going to make sure I put a fair bit of, well, just enough silicone grease on there just to help guide it in with ease. So yeah, hopefully that'll be it, and we should be good. We're just going to make sure that this hose is out of the way, that fuel line there. You can probably remove it, but I don't really like removing fuel lines unless I really have to, because I don't have to deal with petrol and stuff. But yeah, I just kind of tweaked it out of the way and just held it down with a zip tie. I just temporarily put this bolt in here because it gives you something to hold on to when you guide in the valley plate. Just getting the water neck and the O-rings ready with some silicone grease, because you don't have much time to work with once the form in place gasket is on the valley plate. So everything needs to be ready to go straight away. Applying the form in place gasket,
I quickly applied a thin layer by finger of the seal packing onto the lip of the valley plate, then followed by a 4 to 5mm bead onto the lip as well. I'll just pause the video here just to elaborate on what I'm doing. This is actually my second attempt. My first attempt, I applied a bead of sealant in the channel of the valley plate, but then it started to leak straight away as soon as I installed it. Now, also looking at the original sealant from factory, that flat edge on the sealant is the mating surface, which you can see isn't really much for it to seal properly. Yeah, so I applied a thin layer on the full lip of the valley plate, and then I applied the bead just on the edge before it drops off into the channel. So when you install the valley plate, it will compress the sealant and make it push down into the channel, forming a better seal, because the actual sealing point is pretty much right on the edge. I also applied a thin layer by finger onto the block. Keeping in mind, you have to work quickly because of the sealant working time, so it's important to have the water neck and all the bolts ready to go. I didn't show it here, but I checked the water neck O-rings had seated properly by shining a torch and then videoing it on my phone. I installed the 12mm bolts as well as the double-sided ones with a 6mm socket in a crisscross pattern, and then torqued them all down to 20 Newton meters. Put the fuel hose back on the fuel pipes, just to reduce the amount of petrol fumes, because I just don't want that affecting the silicone. It's been a few days already, and so far so good, there's no leaks. So I'm really happy about the results of that. Okay, from here it's pretty much the reverse of everything for reassembly. Don't forget the little ground wire that goes into the valley plate. Going through there. Just propping up the intake manifold so I can reinstall the line that goes underneath. I'm reinstalling the intake manifold bolts in a crisscross pattern and then torquing them down to 20 Newton meters.
Be sure to bleed the coolant. It's actually been about 4 weeks since I made this video, and the car's running fantastically, so I'm really satisfied with the outcome. Yeah, so thanks for watching.